you ever wondered what cities other than New York would be good for Spider-Man? Because if you have, you've come to the right place. Before I get to explaining what exactly we're going to be ranking based on, I probably should explain what exactly we are ranking in general. And that's the United States capital cities, and then I threw in some extra ones because I thought they'd also be good for the video. You're probably wondering what we're ranking the cities based on, and given the fact that there's a Spider-Man on my computer screen, you've probably figured it out. Ding, ding, ding. It is Spider-Man compatibility. We're going to be seeing how well Spider-Man could function in each of the 50 state capitals. And then some extra cities I decided to throw in because I thought, hey, it might be fun. And, you know, the best city for Spider-Man other than New York isn't even a capital city. So you're welcome. I'm going to be getting into that. Stay tuned to figure out what that city is. You probably already know based on... Actually, no, I'm not going to tell you, so you can't go look it up and you have to watch the video. So you're probably sitting there wondering, why did I click on this video? But please don't leave. I would like the view time, and I'm sure I can at least entertain you for a little bit. But hey, if you clicked on the video intentionally, you're already curious, so I might as well, you know, answer that question. Because I know I've thought about it a lot. Like, way more than I should have. In fact, I think about Spider-Man way more than I should usually. It's kind of a problem, and the categories we are going to be ranking him into, starting from worst to best, is awful, bad, okay, good, and great. And remember, this is all in terms of web swinging. Spider-Man could potentially still function in an awful city, just maybe not as well. So we're going to start. I'm going to actually explain the categories a little better than just saying, hey, bad for Spider-Man, good for Spider-Man. Let me get this up real quick. I'm very professional. It's on my phone. I'm reading it off my lap. Due to the fact that there are 50 of these, if I did go over each and every one individually in detail, it'd be a long video, and you know, this is just supposed to be a quick little fun video, so that's what we're doing here. That's why I'm deciding to go over the category in general, and then I'm going to give my general thoughts on the category and the cities in them at the end of each category. So we're going to be just listing off every single one in the category first, and then we're going to be talking about it, basically. Does that make sense? Good, let's go. While I'm explaining this, we're going to start from the top category and make our way down, but then we're going to be doing the opposite when actually talking about it. You know, worst to best, Watch Mojo, top 15 style, except there's like 60-something because I threw in extra cities, and I have no impulse control. A great city is basically just saying that this city would be great for web swinging. It's basically a mini version of New York City, easy for him to swing in, he can do his job real well. Getting into the good category, swinging is slightly more difficult here. The city might not be nearly as big, but it's still definitely a good city for Spider-Man. Okay is where it gets a little more difficult due to the fact that it may not have as many tall buildings. The city might be even smaller. He could still probably do it, but it just, you know, it just wouldn't be as easy. That's why it's okay and not good. When it comes to the bad category, I categorize this as bad would be, you know, it's difficult to swing here. He'd be very low swinging, almost hitting into people. But bad is still better than the awful category, which is basically web swinging is practically impossible here. It's either the buildings are too short or like there's like one tall building and the rest are like one-story buildings. It's kind of hard to swing from that. You know, I'm not saying he couldn't function, he just couldn't function well. He'd have to like ride a bike, get a car, just straight up run, because I don't think people realize Spider-Man is actually really fast. He could jump around. You call him Grasshopper Man or Hopper Man, not Spider-Man, because he's not swinging. Which, like, spiders don't even really swing by themselves either. So, I mean, like, you know, he's already kind of a bit of a lie. I'm going to be very clear when I start talking about the extra cities I added in, just because I think it should be like that. We're going to go over the 50 states first, which is mainly what this video is based about. And then it's just, you know, a little cherry on top. So, first up is the awful category, and we're going to start off with Tallahassee, Florida, which then goes into Pierre, South Dakota, Topeka, Kansas, Frankfort, Kentucky, Augusta, Maine, Annapolis, Maryland, Helena, Montana, Carson City, Nevada, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Bismarck, North Dakota, Montpelier, Vermont, and rounding out the category is Olympia, Washington. I don't think any of the cities in the awful category are necessarily bad cities, just ill fit for Spider-Man. He couldn't really web swing that much, which would limit his way to get around. He could like web slingshot himself and like use like his like little wing gliders, but it's not web swinging, which is primarily his way of getting around. He can still like climb walls and everything. He's still super strong. He still has the Spidey sense. Just not the most effective city for Spider-Man to be in. If I had to pick the worst city for Spider-Man on this entire list, it would probably have to be one of the Dakotas. I think it's Bismarck. It could be Pierre though, 'cause I know one of them only has like one taller building, and then the rest of it is just like short flat land. And there's really no probable way for Spider-Man to function there. However, as I said, still rather be Spider-Man in the city than like a normal guy. The bad category is a little better than the awful category, just because these cities do tend to have slightly taller buildings, or like, you know, medium-sized buildings instead of mainly being just very small, very like limited web swinging wise. But to start this off, we have Juneau, Alaska, which I didn't realize was the capital of Alaska, but then again, I didn't know what the capital of Alaska was before this, and that's kind of the same with a lot of cities on this list, but that's saying more about me than the cities. Next up, we have Montgomery, Alabama, which is then followed by Little Rock, Arkansas, Boise, Idaho, Springfield, Illinois, Des Moines, Iowa, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, Jefferson City, Missouri, Lincoln, Nebraska, Concord, New Hampshire, Trenton, New Jersey, Columbus, Ohio, and I can already hear the only in Ohio, Spider-Man in Ohio, Ohio Spider-Man type comments. So I'm going to beat you right to it by making the meme myself, which is probably playing while I am talking about this. But yeah, I can already sense the Ohio memes coming. And you know, that's okay. It happens. Ohio's been a meme on the internet for a while now. And then rounding out the bad category is Salem, Oregon. As I said, these cities are better than the awful category. However, they're still not the best for Spider-Man. But it's much more plausible for him to exist in these cities. Even if he's just like swinging up and down one street, he's still able to swing somewhat. Granted, it's not much of a superhero if you're limited to one street. That's like a bus route or like, you know, a trolley. But, you know, trolleys don't fight crime. Spider-Man does. Most of the downtown areas I see in this category typically have like a gap in between the taller buildings. It's either the taller buildings, the medium buildings, or you go from like a really tall building to like a medium-sized building. And like you have that a few of the awful categories as well, but like the cities were way too small there. And these are just, you know, slightly big enough to be classified as bad instead of awful, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, as I've said a few times now. But that's the bad category. Let me know how your state's doing at the end of this, because I'm kind of curious. Mine's already been listed, so, I mean, like, maybe you're doing better than I am. Hopefully. I'm done talking about the bad category. Now, when we get to the okay category, it's definitely a lot better than the bad and awful combined. This is mainly because, yes, there's taller buildings, there's more numerous taller buildings. It's still a size thing. It's the number of buildings that matter. Maybe it's a lot of medium buildings can get you put into the okay category. A smaller city size can get you put into the okay category. But Spider-Man can still web swing a lot easier here, and that's the key. The web swinging. So in the okay category, we have Sacramento, California, Hartford, Connecticut, Indianapolis, Indiana, Lansing, Michigan, St. Paul, Minnesota, Albany, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, one of those three. The very fittingly named city of Oklahoma City from Oklahoma, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Columbia, South Carolina, Salt Lake City, Utah, Charleston, West Virginia, Madison, Wisconsin, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. This is the point where any of these cities are a lot better for Spider-Man than any of the ones we previously mentioned. That's kind of given with the ranking system, but like, this is something I just thought of right now, so I'm going to real quick throw it out there. Spider people are usually geniuses because, think about it, most of them usually have web shooters. Most, unless they're like organically, which like it does happen, like with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, he has organic webbing. The Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or Mark Webb Spider-Man, John Watts MCU Spider-Man, they all made their web shooters. I believe Gwen Stacy in Spider-Verse has web shooters. I know Miles definitely does, but he got this from Peter Parker. Where he's getting the web fluid from, I think he's making it because he is really smart as well. But like, I don't know if it's a requirement. You gotta be like a genius to be like a spider person in general, because like, if you don't have organic webs and you don't have the ability to make the web shooters, you're really limited, which would make you really good in like any of the cities below this. And like even here it'd be good because you could like do like some sick little parkour moves across like the map. By the map, I mean, you know, like the cityscape. But like, I'm just now thinking about that, like, dang, Spider-Man's really smart. Like, even if you're like a moderate intelligence or even like really smart person, but your like specialty isn't engineering or, you know, chemistry, like, because he kind of needs both of those to be able to make the web shooters. This is a bit of a tangent, but basically I'm saying if you don't have any of those, you're gonna have a little harder of a time getting around. You can run everywhere for sure. You'll be great at cardio. You can like do the massive jump Spider-Man can do, because Spider-Man is actually really fast. I don't know if most people know this, but like Spider-Man is really fast. Spider-Man in general is a genius. So if anyone can figure out a way around like the OK cities effectively, it's him. And I think that plays a part in how he gets around as well. I think that'd make the OK cities perfectly fine for Spider-Man, because he could probably find really creative ways to swing around. Spider-Man could definitely figure it out, especially in the OK cities. Now, in the good cities is where it gets really good, and that's where we're going next. The first good city on the list is Phoenix, Arizona, which then takes us into Denver, Colorado, Dover, Delaware, Atlanta, Georgia, Honolulu, Hawaii, which honestly was kind of dependent on which picture I found of it. I put Honolulu in the good section because there were a lot of like really tall buildings. Granted, they're kind of spaced out, but like with the height you can get on the other ones, it's going to be no problem. After Honolulu, we have Boston, Massachusetts. Then we have Providence, Rhode Island, Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, and then finally, to round out our 50 state capitals, Richmond, Virginia. These are the best of the state capital cities. They're not the best of the cities because, you know, Hong Kong exists, Tokyo exists, other cities that aren't popping into my head exist outside of the United States. But those are definitely the good cities are the best of the state capitals for Spider-Man to exist in. Out of all the state capitals, if I had to pick one to be the best city for Spider-Man, I'd probably go with Boston, Massachusetts. It just barely fell short of the great category because it's a really tall city. There's plenty of buildings. It wasn't large enough, you know? I mean, that's saying a lot, considering the fact that my state's capital is in the bad category. I'm not hurt at all. I'm the one who made the list. Boston has a very high Spider-Man compatibility with web swinging, since like how like the city's laid out. It's a very tall city. There's a lot of buildings, but unfortunately, I don't think it's quite large enough, like space-wise, spread out-wise, to be considered one of the great cities. Although it's very close. It's just about that shy of making the great category. So if I had to pick one of the state capitals to be the best city for Spider-Man, it would definitely have to be Boston, Massachusetts. But it's not my top pick in general. We're getting into this non-state capitals now, which is starting off with Houston, Texas, then goes into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is a lot bigger of a city than I thought it was when I was first looking into all this. Granted that, you know, like photos definitely play like a big part in like this whole project here, but it definitely makes the list. Then we got San Diego, California, Detroit, Michigan, Seattle, Washington, and then Miami, Florida. This next one isn't really a city because, you know, Washington, D.C. That's a district of Columbia. Not really a city, but I think downtown Washington, D.C. would be a great place for Spider-Man. If you're looking at Google Maps, it looks like it could work. The buildings are like really medium height, but I've been to Washington, D.C. I've been in the downtown area. And I think it would work. I know I was walking around Washington, D.C. when I was there because we decided we were going to walk everywhere. Mainly because the traffic in D.C. is awful, by the way. Then again, traffic in most of the big cities is just bad. But I was sitting there thinking, man, it'd be so nice to be Spider-Man, because I think about Spider-Man way more than I should. It's a bit of a problem, actually. But, you know, it's just one of the things I really like. But it is a bit of a problem. I was sitting there thinking, like, it'd be so great just to web swing my way around. It'd be great. Yeah, I would love to. Especially in DC, because just a lot of, like, tightly packed, taller buildings. Not, like, super tall. Like, it's nowhere compared to, like, the Washington Monument, which is in Spider-Man Homecoming. Good scene. I really like it. But, yeah, I mean, like, Spider-Man's already been to DC in Homecoming, so, I mean, like, he could probably function there. The only thing I don't know about DC is how well they would take to Spider-Man, because, like, he's a vigilante, like, outside the law in the state capital. But, hey, if he could function there reasonably, I think he could probably pull off being in DC, and that's why I think is in the good category. Not the great category, but the good category. I definitely think it's one of the weaker ones in the good category. But I just wanted to throw it in here because I definitely think it could work, especially with how like laid out DC is. I've spent a lot of time talking about Washington, D.C. We're going to move on to the great category next. But I just want to say all the good cities, especially with what we talked about in the okay category, about whole Spider-Man being a genius, more than good cities for Spider-Man to be in. I think if you had spider powers swinging around in any of these cities, you'd be perfectly fine. You could definitely make do with it. Especially if, like, you know, you start throwing in a little tricks and not just like regular swinging. By regular swinging, I just mean from building to building. As I said, there's the whole like slingshot ability. There is just like super big jumps. So like say you land on a rooftop and the next building isn't the closest, you can just do the whole run and jump thing, then start swinging again. Basically, if you're Spider-Man, with enough time, you can definitely make any of these good cities a great city. It's just a matter of there's just bigger cities out there that are more densely packed, and they're just, in my opinion, would work a lot better for Spider-Man. But we're going to get into that right now, which includes the city that I think is the best city for Spider-Man. I'm not giving that away yet, but we will be soon. And we're going to start off with Los Angeles, California. I know. Surprise, Los Angeles is a big city. It's in the great category. You can boo me all you want. It's just a great city for Spider-Man because there's a lot to swing from. If you've played GTA, you know about downtown LA, which realistically isn't the biggest area, but it's still big enough, functionable enough that I think it is a great city for Spider-Man. San Francisco, however, controversial take, is the better city for Spider-Man in California. I know some people think San Diego would be great. LA would be great. I think San Francisco is the best city for Spider-Man because at least in the pictures I've seen, it's a lot bigger than like LA and San Diego. And it's just a real pretty city. You got like the hills, you got the Golden Gate Bridge, you got the Boston Massacre. That's not. San Francisco, in my opinion, is the better of the three California cities. The big ones, not like Sacramento, because unfortunately Sacramento isn't high on the list. There are three California cities that I added onto this list, like San Diego, LA, and now San Francisco. I think San Francisco is the best one for Spider-Man out of those three just because of how densely packed it is. At least in the pictures I've seen, I haven't been to San Francisco. It looks like a good city, but it just doesn't happen like that sometimes. I can't go everywhere. I would love to go to all these cities. Maybe. I think Venom is either set in San Francisco or LA, one of the two. I could be wrong. But that happens there, so, he definitely have people to fight. But we're talking about real life. San Francisco, best of the California cities for Spider-Man, but not the best city for Spider-Man. Best city for Spider-Man is Chicago. Chicago is basically New York Jr., New York City Jr. Chicago is massive. Chicago has plenty for Spider-Man to do. The Windy City is simply the number one city other than New York for Spider-Man in the United States. Just how I think it is. But Chicago is just a massive city. Got tons of skyscrapers. When it comes to the number of skyscrapers in the cities, Chicago ranks the second compared to New York City. So it's definitely a great place for Spider-Man. It's another concrete jungle. They call it the Windy City. I didn't take temperatures into account when I was making this list, but it's Spider-Man. He lives in New York City, so I'm sure he could fare just well everywhere else. Alaska probably a little cold, but he could do it. Insulated suits are a thing. Put some thermals on underneath or something. I don't know. But Chicago is definitely, in my opinion, the best city for Spider-Man outside of New York City. As I said, Spider-Man can go swing around like the Big Bean and everything. I really don't have much to say on Chicago other than it's basically New York 2, New York City 2. And I didn't bring crime statistics into this, but Chicago definitely has a very high crime rate. So there's plenty for Spider-Man to do. But yeah, with Chicago now on the table, as I said, best city for Spider-Man in my opinion. I'm honestly surprised a lot of superhero stories don't take place there as well, alongside New York. They probably do, and they're just not as popular, and I just don't know about it, because I honestly just know a lot about Spider-Man, and then a few others, and that's about it. I know I'm not the biggest superhero guy on the internet, but I still have my opinions, and I didn't see another list like this because trust me, I tried looking. I was curious. I want to know what other people thought. But hey, maybe this video will get me that feedback. How did your state rank on this list? As I said, mine fell in the bad category, so hopefully you did better than I did. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. This video, while I was recording it, felt like one big mess. I did have notes for this video, but that was mainly for determining the rank of the cities. And as I said, I was going in depth with each of the cities. And just to recap the video for you guys, just in case you got lost along the way, or you want to skip to the end and just see what's up. Why would you do that? I totally get why you would do that, but I'm just wondering. I think that Bismarck, North Dakota is the worst state capital for Spider-Man, while Boston, Massachusetts is the best state capital for Spider-Man, and then Chicago, Illinois is the best city in general outside of New York City for Spider-Man. I'm definitely interested in hearing other people's opinions on this one, just because I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man was a big part of my life growing up, and still is, honestly. Do without what you will. I'm not too sure how to end this video. Let me know what you think. Do you disagree with any of my rankings? I would love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around. I have no idea how long this video is going to be because I've been recording for a little bit now, it feels like. It was definitely fun, though. I like doing YouTube. I don't really get to do it that often, but I hope I can start doing it some more. But yeah, let me know what you think. How do your state rank? I'm curious about hearing about that because, as I said, mine's in the bad category. So trust me, I definitely feel everybody there that is not in the good categories, in the higher up categories. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to watch this video. I know there's a lot to watch on the internet, and like I personally get overwhelmed with it. But, you know, hopefully you enjoyed it. I had fun making it. And if there's enough demand for it, I might make a part 2 to this video with cities outside of the United States. United States just kind of what I know because I'm from here. But as I said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.